Hey everybody, and welcome to Activity 12. MASH. This is a fun one. It's kind of silly. It's kind of like playing at Mad Libs, and I really enjoy this one. MASH is just an abbreviation for mansion, apartment, shack, or house, which is the potential future residence that the little predictor program will predict you live in. So it's just kind of fun. Um, so first off, we're going to go import our file just like we always do. Going to go ahead, right click, save that guy if it would open for me. Seems to be taking a little longer than usual today. File finally opened. I went ahead and saved it. I'm going to go ahead and import it now from my file system. Go ahead and select downloads. Open that bad boy. So again, for this one, we're going to be following along with the to-dos in our main method, but we're also going to be following along with the parts in the activity. Part 1 will be populating our array lists. Part 2, we're going to print them for a little exercise, and then for part 3, we're going to select random objects from our array lists to present this little game here. And so I'm going to go ahead and go back, and all we have to do is do the items that the to-dos outline. The rest is kind of already determined for us, including how the output's going to be structured. So let's see, to do part 1, add items to female spouse list. So you're going to have an array list of female spouses up here, an array list of male spouses. So one of those will be selected to be your future husband or wife in the little MASH game. I know it's a little typical roles here, so I didn't write this activity, disclaimer. You've got a list of occupations, a list of transportation, and a list of hometowns. And for your future homes, they've already added mansion, apartment, shack, or house. So to add a list of female spouses, I'll do female spouse list. I believe it's capital L dot add, and then you just add. I think let's add 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll add like, I don't know, 3. All right, got to put my girlfriend's name in there. That would be important. And let's see. We've been watching a lot of Vampire Diaries lately, so I'll just do, oh gosh, what are the other characters' names? There we go. And now we're going to add to male spouse list, so we'll do. So again, we're just adding a bunch of strings. So this is pretty easy. And I know it's a bit repetitive. Let's do more Vampire Diaries characters. Since they're not real, it's maybe a little less weird. And it doesn't have to be. I would just do 3 at least, just enough variety to make the random output interesting. Add items to our occupation list. So again, kind of repetitive. Let's do what's something interesting. There we go. 3 of those. Transportation list. Gotta add my Volkswagen Beetle to the list. do my, and I'll do my dirt bike. There we go. Add items to hometown list. Let's see. I'll do all the places that I've lived. Oh, I think that's a lowercase t. Print the database, future possibilities database. That's kind of fun. So now we're going to use different ways of printing out all the items in our array list. So we're going to print the items in female spouse list using the ArrayList toString method. So showed you in the lecture, simple one-liner for this one. We're going to do just print out female spouse list. Now let's run this just to make sure our program is working so far. So you got our home list printed out, female spouse list, you can see it's printed out in the array toString like that. Now remember, and it asks me to please enter my name, so that's for the future part of the program, so I'm just going to hit the stop button. Now notice we don't have to call the toString method. As I've discussed in the past, toString is a method that represents your object as a string. So when you call female spouse list.toString, that's going to return you a string that represents that list as a string. So when you represent an array list as a string, it's just a comma separated list inside these little brackets here. And so notice we get the same output whether we actually explicitly call toString or just print out the object. That's because excuse me, that's because toString gets implicitly called whenever you print an object. So that's just kind of a handy thing to know. So we're going to print the items in the male spouse list using a for loop, i.e. use indexes to print the items. So this is a standard for loop. Go ahead and use my traditional for loop starting point. Will go until I is less than male spouse list dot size. Remember, less than size is how you're going to visit every index in your array list. I plus plus. And since we have an index value here, we'll be using the get method to get each object at that index. So get each string at that index. So now we'll do male spouse list dot get I, and we got to print that out. So, and notice it just says print them. It doesn't say how to print them. So I'm just going to use the print line. Actually, you know what? It does say kind of have them separated by spaces here. So I'd like everybody to print them out separated by the spaces. So I'm just going to go ahead and concatenate a space on the end there. And notice I did just use the print method, so there isn't a new line there, so we will have to take care of that at the end, but it looks like it's printing out nicely. I am actually just going to add a blank print line here to move that down, so that way it continues to look nice. We're going to print the items in the occupation list using an ArrayList iterator in while loop. So again, I go over this in the activity video, but the first thing we're going to have to do is get an iterator. And this is going to be an iterator over strings because that's what's inside of our loop. I'll call it, and I'm going to call occupation list dot get, and sorry, actually it's just iterator, it's not get iterator. Now I'm going to say while it.has next, so while there's a next item to iterate over in our list, I'm going to print, not print line, I'm just going to print it.next, so we're going to get that next item plus the space. So notice this is going to return a string, so we can concatenate a space on the end, and I am going to have to do an empty line there to continue to move that line down there. So you can see there's all of our future occupations listed out. We're going to print the items in the transportation list using a for each loop. So again, this one is my favorite. For each string, and we'll just call it S in transportation list, we're going to just print, not print line, S. And again, we'll do an empty print line down here just to move that guy down. And print the items in the hometown list using the method of your choice. I'm just going to be lazy and do just print out hometown list like so. Go ahead and run that bad boy, and we've got everything printing out. We've got our home list, female spouse list, male spouse list. We've got our occupation list, and then, whoa, something's going on here with the transportation list. Forgot to concatenate a space on there. So let's stop this guy and run it. Cool. So there's our hometown list. Now this next part is actually going to ask you to enter your name, and then it creates a funny little scenario with all the different random possibilities we're going to select. So, welcome Luke, this is your future. You're going to marry blank and live in a house. After 4 years of marriage, you will finally get your dream job of being a blank. So again, it's going to randomly select a spouse, a job, etc. from there. And so, now we're on to do number 11. We're going to use a rand object to select each of the following future components from the above lists. So, my second home is going to be some random selection from our home list, and so on. And actually, a lot of this is just copy and paste. So, to get a random object from our home list, we use a random object and we get it from 0 to homelist.size. And remember, when we call nextInt and put a parameter in nextInt, we're going to get a number between 0 and that parameter exclusive. So 0 is a possibility, but that parameter is not. We're going to actually get one less than it. So by putting in homelist.size, because our lists are 0 indexed, it works out because we're going to get 0 to homelist.size minus 1. And recall that homelist.size minus 1 is actually the last index of our list. So that means we're going to get random numbers in that whole range. So I'm going to go ahead for my second home, and I'm going to get pretty much just copy this because we want a random item from our home list. So we'll get a random object between 0 and homelist.size minus 1. We'll do occupation list.get rand.nextInt, and we'll pass in occupation list.size, if I could spell occupation correctly. Same thing for transportation. We're going to do transportation list.get rand.nextInt, transportation list.size, and hometown will do nice. So now we're on to do number 12. We're going to use the coin to determine whether the player's spouse is male or female, then randomly select the spouse from the corresponding list. So we've got a Boolean value here, coin, rand.nextBoolean. Now, this actually, since this is going to return a value, this is actually a really good case for the ternary operator. So I'm actually going to use that here. Recall that ternary operator is like an if-else statement that returns a value. So if your Boolean value is true, you get one value. If the Boolean value is false, you get the other. So the ternary operator goes the Boolean value, question mark, so it's like, is it true or false? And the first one is if it's true, let's do if it's true, we'll do female spouse list dot get, and we have to do ran.nextInt female spouse list dot size, and then the colon is the else. We'll do, is that a capital S? I believe so. And then it's male spouse list dot size. Whoa! What did I just do? Lost it for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control Z. Looks like I accidentally erased that whole line. And let's see if our ternary operator can split across lines. I believe it can, and it looks like it can. So it's pretty long here, so I got that colon. But our if-else statement would be like at least a line longer than this. So this is a pretty good case for a ternary operator. So notice if coin is true, we're going to get this value. If it's false, we're going to get this value. Selects the random years of marriage, and then we're done. So that was all our to-dos. One thing though, notice how we got a bunch of empty space down here. That's because of our typing up above, so I'm going to erase all that, and I encourage you to do the same. Always clean up your submissions. Get rid of any extra white space that you don't need. And I'm going to get rid of that here as well. So let's run this bad boy. Printed out all our jobs and lists and things earlier, so that worked out. So there's my name. Welcome, Luke. I'm going to marry Elena and live in an apartment. After 2 years of marriage, I'll finally get my dream job of being a software engineer. Your family will move to a shack in Boise where you will Volkswagen Beetle to work every day. So you see this one. This is just kind of a fun little Mad Libs type activity. Let's try another one. Wow, that's a long time. Boom. I guess I really like to Volkswagen Beetle to work. Gonna live in a shack and then move to a mansion in San Diego. Wow. On the up and up. So anyways, it's just a fun one. I hope you guys enjoy this activity, and let me know if you have any questions. I think it really just gives you practice with pulling things out of lists. Hopefully the little ternary operator use was fun for you, seeing that. You don't get to use those often in CS121. And with that, I'll catch you all later. Happy coding, everybody.